You hear about a $109 million military jet crashing, and the first thing you see in the reports is usually two words: human error. But is it ever that simple? Today, we're diving deep into the crash of a U.S. Navy A18G Growler. We're going to look past that simple headline and uncover this whole chain of events, a mix of tech, weather, and just immense pressure that all came together to create one single catastrophic failure. Just look at that number. $109 million. I mean, let that sink in for a second. It's one of those figures that's so big, it almost doesn't feel real, right? But believe me, this represents a very, very real loss. And we're not talking about the cost of a whole research program or, a brand new fleet of jets. Nope. This is the price tag for just one incident, a single training exercise that went horribly wrong. It's a pretty stark reminder of just how high the stakes are in military aviation. All right, so let's jump in where the official investigation wrapped up. The Navy's report points to what they say is a pretty clear and specific cause for this, nine-figure mistake. So here's the timeline. The crash itself, February 12th, 2025. Fast forward about a year, and the investigation comes out with its final verdict. And what was it? You guessed it, human error. Just two little words. But as we're about to see, those two words hide a much, much more complicated story. Okay, before we go any further, it's probably a good idea to talk about what a Growler actually is. Because look, this is not just your average jet. The A18G is a highly specialized electronic warfare aircraft. Think of it like a souped-up Super Hornet fighter jet, but it's packed to the gills with advanced technology designed to jam enemy radar and communications. It's an absolutely critical and, as we've established, a very, very expensive piece of military hardware. See, the thing about the term human error is that it makes you think of one person making one bad call, a single, isolated mistake. But what investigators actually found was something totally different. It was more like a cascade of factors, one small problem that led to another, and then another. Yeah, they pinpointed three separate issues that basically created a domino effect. First up, you've got unfamiliar software in the cockpit. Second, the runway conditions were not great. And third, the wind itself was working against them. Any one of these things on its own, probably manageable. But all of them together, it created what was pretty much an unavoidable trap. And here's what's so wild. The trouble didn't even start on the landing approach. It started way before that, during aerial refueling. The crew was dealing with some software they weren't used to, and it started throwing up all these warnings. So right away, the whole tone of the flight is challenging. The crew is already on the back foot, kind of in a reactive mode from the very beginning. So imagine, you've got those software glitches nagging at you, and then you have to deal with these landing conditions. I mean, your perfect landing scenario? That's a nice, dry runway for good grip and a headwind. Wind coming at you to help slow you down. What did they have? The literal opposite. A wet, slick runway and a tailwind, which is wind pushing the jet from behind, actually making it go faster over the ground. Okay, so this all brings us to that final, fateful landing attempt at Naval Air Station North Island. This is the moment where all those separate problems are about to collide. And here's the bottom line. The tailwind is pushing them along faster than they want to be, and the wet runway offers almost no grip to slow them down. The crew was literally fighting the laws of physics. The jet was just moving way too fast to land safely, period. And they were running out of runway, fast. I mean, faced with a totally impossible situation, the pilot and the electronic warfare officer, they made the only call they could to save their own lives. They had to abort the landing and punch out. That decision to eject, that was the final dramatic act. So let's take a look at the aftermath, both for the people involved and for that very expensive aircraft. So when all the dust settled, here's the final scorecard. And the most important thing, of course, is that the two crew members ejected safely. They were okay. The jet, on the other hand, a total loss, sitting at the bottom of San Diego Bay. And with it, that staggering $109 million price tag. So it all leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? The official report just says human error. But when you stack everything up, the unfamiliar software, the terrible weather, the basic physics of the situation, you really have to ask, where does the human's fault end and where does a system failure begin? There's this philosophy in accident investigation, and it goes something like this. You can either blame a human or you can learn from a failure, but you can't do both. And it really makes you wonder, in a system this complex, Is just pointing the finger at the person in the cockpit really the best way to make sure this doesn't happen all over again?